and it got to the point where the alcohol was, I couldn't make it through a day. Like, I couldn't even, when I woke up in the morning, I would have to have a shot of something. And then I would get ready for work, go to work. And towards the end, it didn't start out this way, but towards the end, I knew how much I could drink between seeing patients.
Yeah, without feeling or without outwardly having
without
symptoms. Yeah,
right. I didn't, hurt anybody or endanger anybody. Well, I mean, I guess that is considered endangering someone, but I never actually hurt anybody. And I felt like that was me controlling it for a while.
Right. Welcome to the Sober and Free podcast. I'm Susanna. And this is for anyone who's done with drinking, not into meetings, and ready to reclaim their life. Sobriety is just the beginning. And sobriety isn't punishment. It's power. Power to choose, to feel, and to finally live on your own terms. Let's get into it. Welcome, DeAnna. I have with me today DeAnna Ambrose, and we met on our Sober and Free group, and we've had a couple of conversations, one longer one, and then a little chat this morning. How are you doing today, DeAnna?
I'm good. Good. A good day.
Yeah, and perhaps you can introduce yourself. You just do so much of a better job than me, especially when I've just met people through the group, that I find it just best to hand it over to you. If you want to introduce yourself to me and to the listeners, just with all the good stuff, your name, where you live now, where you're from perhaps, and how long you've been sober and what brought you to Sober and Free. So
I am I live in Huntsville, Alabama. And pretty much been in Alabama all my life. I've traveled a little bit, but always come back home. I joined the group on Facebook, and that's how I met you. And I love reading the posts and the comments where people are talking back and forth. And I've listened to your podcast as well, and I like it. I've had 7 children. I have 5 living, and I have 3 grandbabies. I'm a nurse. The youngest one is 1 year old. He's having his birthday today after I get done with this. I'll be going over there for his first birthday. And then my oldest son has 2 boys, and I think they're 3 and 5. I believe their ages. So they're fun ages.
No kidding. And they have their hands full with the 3 and 5-year-old.
I know. I get around the grandkids and I love spending time with them, but I'm like, how did I do this with 6 of them? I don't have that energy anymore.
I know. And I think the older ones, even with just 2, the older one does help. So why don't you take us back and tell us a little bit about your drinking life story and some of your life story. Okay.
Okay. Well, according to my mom, I started at 3 years old. Her, my dad, and friends were all sitting around a campfire. And they had their drinks with it, and they drank it and set it down. And me at 3 years old was walking around picking up people's drinks and drinking them. Of course, I don't remember that, but she said I got sick. I slept good, she said. But then I pretty much, didn't touch anything else until 16. I remember my first drunk. I had my first baby at 15, and so I didn't drink, during the pregnancy. So after I had him, I was like, okay, it's time for me to have a little bit of fun.
Right.
So I went to a Halloween party, and I sat there, and right out of the gate was the one that was, I can drink you under the table, and I'll be the last one standing. The first one to puke is the one that loses. We're sitting there drinking moonshine and beer and just mixing all kinds of stuff.
Ooh.
And it's very embarrassing. I ended up in the bathroom, half naked, with shit all over me, basically. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was horrible. So I said, well, I'm done with this. No, I ain't doing this again. And I did good the whole time I was raising my kids, but you got to think I had 7 children, and I was pregnant 9 times. So I actually stayed pregnant most of my young teenage into early adult. And then I found myself with 6 children and no school education at all. Like, okay, what am I going to do now? So during that time, I just didn't have the money or the time to drink. I kept myself busy. So I might drink once, twice a year, go out to a party or something. But when I went out, I drank heavy. It was always hangover, feel terrible the next day. It's like every time I drank, it was like the very first time. My dad was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. And then my first couple of relationships, well, probably most of my relationships were alcoholics. And I did, when I was dating, I would have a few drinks with them. It was never like on those type of situations, I didn't drink a whole lot. Because I knew I had to get back to the kids. I knew I had to work, and I hadn't crossed that line yet. I was the binge drinker that would just do it sometimes. So I don't know, somehow I guess I tried to stay responsible enough to take care of the kids. My current husband started dating, so that would have been 2014. We had like a long distance, it was about an hour and a half between us. And he was going through a divorce, so he was drinking pretty heavily. He drank his whole life, but wouldn't say to an alcoholic level. And our dating ended up becoming me coming up to see him for a weekend. And during that weekend, he'd be crying about his divorce and drinking more and more to ease that pain. Well, I'm sitting there drinking and having fun and trying all these new wines and drinks I had never tasted before that tasted good. And, because he was better off than I was financially. So he was able to take me out to the nice restaurants and get the fancy alcohol. And yeah. And that was about every other weekend I was doing that. And then after our first year of dating, I moved to Huntsville, which is where he lived. And I got my own place, me and my kids. And because we said the first year we did long distance, the second year we'd date in the same town and let the kids meet each other. And then the third year we would move in together. That was the plan. And we stuck to that. We stuck to that because of him, because he was much more logical, and he's on the spectrum, high functioning too. So when he sets a plan out, he sticks to it. But I was in Huntsville and I felt so free. I felt so good. I had all my kids in the nicest house we'd ever lived in. And it was only like 10 minutes from where Scott, my boyfriend at the time, lived. And so we could go back and forth. He'd come over for dinner. I'd have wine. And I would find a fancy bottled wine like he did for a while. And then I started having family get-togethers in the backyard all the time. Like every weekend. It was karaoke, grilling out, playing with the kids. At this time, the kids were between 10 and 20. And my oldest daughter, she was 19, 20 in there. So she was, she was living with me and she was helping. Like she worked and helped pay the bills, but she had her own room, her own freedom. She could drive. Yep. So she could help take the kids to school. She could help do this stuff. And I also care for my mom. So she was also living with us. But it was just so nice having my own nice backyard fenced in and invite the family over. My oldest son had his first boy, and that was my first time being a grandma. And they were all coming over to the house, and I was giving alcohol to all of them. But I eventually got to where I was letting them, because you could have more fun doing karaoke if you were drinking.
Right.
I had ping pong tables. I had all kinds of fun stuff to do. And it was every weekend party at Mom's house. It just went on and on until I guess I was just so irritable and cranky, and I was focused all on the drinking that the family stuff wasn't even important anymore. The house it'd be full of people crashed. Of course, they'd pass out there. Then of course I had to clean it all up the next day. But so that went on for several years. Me and Scott dated that year, and then I moved in here, the house that we're in now with him, and then we got married a year later. But during that time, heavily drinking, both of us. I was working, and I like the autonomy of working home health. Got to the point where the alcohol was, I couldn't make it through a day. Like I couldn't even, when I woke up in the morning, I would have to have a shot of something. And then I would get ready for work, go to work. And towards the end, it didn't start out this way, but towards the end, I knew how much I could drink between seeing patients.
Yeah. Without feeling or without outwardly having without symptoms. Yeah.
Right. I didn't, hurt anybody or endanger anybody. Well, I mean, I guess that is considered endangering someone, but I never actually hurt anybody. And I felt like that was me controlling it for a while.
Right. My rhythm of the way I communicate is going to be off when I'm drinking. I had someone over to my house the other day who was slightly drunk when she arrived and then drunker when she left. Well, I knew it right away, like right away. The moment she walked in, and she wasn't tripping, she wasn't walking unsteadily, but there are signs. So people knew that we were drinking.
Yeah.
When we felt 100% exactly like them, we thought we're sober like them. It's so crazy. I know it's such a sneaky, tricky drug.
It is. It really is.
How did it come to a head?
Well, I worked PRN part-time, so I could choose my days and stuff. So that was good. I never scheduled myself more than like 3 days a week. So again, I was able to control it.
Right.
But as it went on, I realized that I couldn't even do that. So I started dropping down to 1 day a week. And then eventually it got to only 3 days a month because that was the minimum I could do and still keep my position. That it was going to eventually turn bad. I knew I could lose my license. I knew I could end up in jail, all these things. It was just a matter of when it happened. My oldest son had already decided that I was too dangerous to be around with the kids. So he moved him and his 2 sons and his wife off to Michigan. Basically, that was a big falling out. He said that if I didn't quit my drinking, my entire family was going to eventually turn their back on me, and that he was the first to do it. So that hit pretty hard. But it still wasn't hard enough. My oldest daughter then got pregnant with her first baby. She never really said anything to me, but I know my daughter. I knew that when that baby was born, if I was still drinking, I wasn't going to get to be grandma. I wasn't going to get to take the baby anywhere. I wasn't going to get to watch the baby. I knew that just how she was.
And how much were you drinking? Tell me about your drinking days when you're barely not going to work and when they're starting to limit. Yeah.
From the time I wake up, I would have to have a drink all through the day.
Okay.
But I would always try to keep that buzz going. Like I didn't want to go over until it got towards nighttime because I wanted to keep drinking. And I had gastric sleeve surgery done in 2014. So I metabolized alcohol differently too. They say don't drink for the first year, which I didn't after the surgery, but went back to it. And so I couldn't eat because if I ate, I wouldn't have room to put the alcohol in. So I would choose my calories in liquid form, instead of food. I had really bad reflux. So when in my sleep, I would actually throw up a little bit and not even know it because I'd be so passed out. So 3 times I ended up in the hospital with aspiration pneumonia. In my sleep, I was inhaling, the liquid.
You could have died.
Yes. Yep, I could
have. These are the things that we don't talk about when people die of alcohol-related causes. It's not just drunk driving and 15 years of drinking the way that you drank, and then your organs fail. It's not just those 2 things. It's also things like what you mentioned. So it's a big problem. Okay, so then what happened?
Well, I mean, I was Of course, my husband at this point had crossed the line too. So he was drinking, but he drank Jack Daniels. That's the only thing he would drink. So he was drinking all night, all evening. He would wait till 5 o'clock when he got off work to drink. I would drink from morning all the way till I passed out. And that was every day. I knew at that point that I had a problem. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to quit, one, because then that would make my oldest son right. He couldn't be right. I'm not really an alcoholic. I just having too much fun. I just need to back off. And of course, none of that ever worked. Tried switching to just beer, did all the normal things that people do. I only drink.
Before we quit, we have the rules. I've read many quit lists. I've read a lot of books about people quitting alcohol, and every single one of them mentions that one of the phases before, hopefully we get to the point where we quit and we don't die first, but one of the phases is the rules. Only going to drink on weekends, not going to drink, only drink certain types of alcohol, and of course, limiting the amount. And moderation, Mary. And unfortunately, it's mythical. It's mythological. It's a myth.
Yep. It didn't work at all. It would only sustain me for a day or two, and then I'd be right back to drinking all the time. I remember trying to quit on my own, and I would make it between 1 and 3 days was the longest. But I was miserable. I was cranky. I was irritable. Couldn't stand myself because I wanted to drink. That's what I wanted to do. And I was making myself not do it. And they just couldn't do it. I didn't have the strength and power myself to do it. So I would always go back. And then, and I did a lot of crying after I'd get drunk, because I cried that I was drunk. I cried that I was an alcoholic. The realization was hitting me, but I was just a sobbing drunk at that point. Well, my youngest son, Jerry, he lived with us as well. He was 20 at the time, but he was living with us all during that, most of it. But he came to me one night when I was drinking and I was sad and miserable. And he was like, "What's wrong?" And I told him that I want to quit, but I can't. And he was like, "You can, Mom, if you want to." And I was like, "No, I can't. I'm dependent on it. I can't quit." And he was like, "I tell you what, I'll help you quit." Aww. And now he never was a drinker. Even when the other family members were drinking, he tried to drink. He did not like alcohol. He was also high functioning autistic. Graduated early from high school. So he was really smart. Yeah.
Just too smart to drink. That's what I was going to say. Never ever could get through the logic of how stupid this is.
Mm-hmm. And he would see how me and Scott would act and stuff. And he'd just be like, no.
Too smart. Aw.
So he said he was going to help me. And I was like, okay, well, we'll try it. But in my head, I really didn't think I was going to be able to. And so he told me, he said, gosh, he was so smart. He said, "Mom, you look up where to find the closest AA meeting. And you go there tomorrow, and I will be here to help you every step of the way." And I was like, okay. And like I said, in my head, though, I was still thinking, well, if this don't work, I'll just sneak off and drink just enough to keep me satisfied. And then he will never know. So I went to that next AA meeting that day, and I was like, oh, gosh, these people, I don't know what's wrong with them. They didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I can't do this. They expect me to never drink again. Oh, no.
Right.
But I did it. I came back, got my little white chip. I came back and showed my son. I was like, look, I did it. And he said, okay, Mom, are you going to another one? I said, yeah, I'll keep going as long as it's working. I said, I don't know that I believe everything they say, though. And he was like, all right, are you ready to be breathalyzed? And I was like, huh? And he said, yeah, that's how I'm going to help. And he pulled out this little breathalyzer kit that he had went and got. Yep. And I was just like, wasn't expecting this. This is not what I thought he meant by help. So I blew into it. And at that time, I didn't even pass it. But I knew at that point he was serious. Yes. And the look on his face, the disappointment.
Aww.
Just broke my heart. And that was like the moment that I went, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to at least give it my best effort. So I was at every AA meeting from morning to night. Um, my husband had been in the he had been hospitalized twice for alcohol at that point. And so he decided he was going to quit with me. So we both quit. But he said he could do it himself because he wasn't really an alcoholic. And I was going to go to AA. So he got his 30-day. I got my 30-day. My kids showed up to see me get my 30-day chip. Jerry was breathalyzing me every time I left the house and came back. So because at that point, now it's in my mind, well, I can't sneak off and do anything because as soon as I get back, he's going to test me and he's going to know. And I'm not going through this again. So I was doing it. I started listening to what they were saying at AA, and I started taking the advice. Okay, get a sponsor. That's what I'm supposed to do now. Okay. Now I'm supposed to actually call that sponsor. And that was really, really hard, picking up that phone and calling my temporary sponsor for the first time. I was like, I don't see how talking to them is going to keep me from wanting a drink. So I was in the parking lot of a liquor store. And I said, okay, but I got to try this because I said I was going to do my very best. And so I dialed her number. We only met one time. And I talked to her, and it wasn't like she said anything magical. She just told me to remember why I wanted to quit. And think about my son and my other kids and my grandbabies. And, it just talked me through it. And after about 15 minutes, the craving was gone. And I was like, wow, that really did work. Okay. So telling on myself really worked. So I hung up and drove home and didn't get anything to drink. And of course, my son breathalyzed me again. I did good. And so after the 30-day mark, my husband decided he was going to celebrate his 30 days. And celebration lasted a couple of months.
Right.
So he had alcohol in the house, was offering to buy me alcohol every time he'd go out. And Jerry was disappointed in him. And I was like, I'm not going to let this happen to me. So I was at AA meetings everywhere. And I love to kayak, but I love to drink on the river too. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out how I can do this sober now. So I went into the AA group, and I'm going around asking people, do you kayak? Do you want to kayak? I have extra kayak. And so I started getting people from AA to go with me out on the river because they're held accountable.
Absolutely.
And see how they're having fun. Like, how are they making this fun?
And that is so smart of you. And it's community. What I said about it, if you and I got together when everybody's sober, you have more fun.
That I didn't expect that, but I was pleasantly surprised that it went that way. And so now we've got a whole kayaking group that goes out from AA because of that.
So smart.
That's really good. And then I found that what I consider my higher power, I felt closest to in nature, sober, out on the river. And it didn't have to involve loud music and drinking. I actually enjoyed listening to the birds chirp and watching the trees and feeling the breeze. It was just a totally different experience doing it sober.
Well, I think it's called peace.
I was rediscovering everything. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think in some ways we weren't addicted to alcohol. We weren't craving alcohol as much as craving peace. We didn't know it. Mm-hmm. That peace. Yep. So you found that peace, and then you started to, of course, come to the group online as well for the hours that we're not in a meeting, because we can't be in a meeting 24/7.
I was in the Facebook group. I was looking at it, watching everything, reading books. Everything had to do with sobriety. I just had to keep focused there.
Do you have a favorite quit lit book that you read?
What impacted me the most? It was Living Sober was really good. That's an AA book. But then there was The Effects Alcohol Has on the Brain.
Oh, I don't know that one. I'm going to write that down.
And that one was, again, because I'm in the medical field.
Right.
That was so informative. Like, it explained my behaviors and why I was so addicted to it and what my brain was going through when I would drink and when I would quit. And it really went into detail about all that stuff. So that was very helpful. And then the Living Sober goes through different aspects of your life, like how to have fun sober, how to work sober, how to have relationships sober, how to still have fun. And it just goes into all those topics and doing it all sober. So those were two really good ones.
I read Living Sober years ago. I had it, and I probably still do. I named the group living living sober because sober living refers to a sober living establishment. So I named it Living Sober, but I forgot about the book. And it's not AA affiliated. AAs are welcome. So someone from AA said something about the book and I went, oh yeah. So I changed the name to Sober and Free. That's the reason.
Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't.
I thought it was an AA book. I guess it's not. I didn't know that.
Living Sober is an AA book, so people would assume it's an AA group. And the only reason and the only reason I'm not AA affiliated is because, and the reason I don't go to AA, as I've shared many times on the podcast, however you get sober is how you get sober. But living your whole life after you get sober, I felt that, how can I say this? AA outsources and offloads the practice of being sober onto a certain set of, onto the steps and the 12 traditions, which are fantastic. But when you know the truth about alcohol, that there's nothing good about it, that's like drinking arsenic, you can live however you want because you'd never drink arsenic for recreation. Like once you know the truth and there's not one fiber, not one tiny iota or hidden corner of your brain, junk drawer in your brain, there's not one little place where you harbor a belief that you're missing something, where you harbor a belief that there's anything good about alcohol. If you don't have any of that, you don't need the 12 steps. You don't need nothing because you know there's nothing good about it. You're totally turned off by it. Not even a 0.5% can, do you know what I'm saying? Once you know that, like, that's what
I get what you're saying, but I'm too fearful to ever leave AA as far as and I think anything they did. I mean, they helped me get sober.
No, but their commitments
were like the 12 guys.
But just let me finish. I'm not saying that AA is something that people need to leave because then they really have the truth. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's people out there still drinking who don't like AA, so they decide to keep drinking. And I'm here to say. And I'm here to say, you can believe that you can be sober and truly, strongly sober, even without AA, because I would never want that to kill them. I would never want them to think that AA is the only way. And I have said it a million times, and I don't want AA to ever be offended that I'm trying to take people out of AA. What I'm trying to say is AA is not the only way. That's what I'm here to say.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. It's not the only way. It's just the only way that has worked for me.
Exactly.
That's all I can say.
It's exactly right. So it was the only way that worked for you. And of course you're going to stay in it because, you would be foolish not to be fearful about leaving. You should, whatever's working where you're happy and free. I was in AA, went out. I was in AA, went out. I was in OA. I was in NA. I did 24 years of the rooms. I probably have 100,000 meetings in me. Okay, maybe not that many, but 100,000 hours. And I mean, I have the 12 steps here, the 12 traditions here. I've chaired the meetings, of course. And like I said, all the different ones, NA and OA, always Overeaters Anonymous. They do the third step prayer. They do the third step prayer in there. I mean, it's God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of this bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. That is the OA prayer. I went to thousands of meetings in Toronto, 3 a day, 5 years. Like I was addicted. Like I was in treatment centers. I was at death's door. I started this in 1985. I went to my first Alateen meeting, and it's been that until I found myself still drinking in 2020 going, WTF, how in the world am I going to stop being too smart for this program? I was just too smart. I could just figure it out. I still believed in moderation, Mary. I still believed that there was still something redeemable about alcohol. But in 2012, I started reading Craig Beck, Laura McCowan, Annie Grace, Christy Coulter, and on and on and on. I have 4 of them on the sober group for a library of reading, and they are all saying the same thing, which is we've been duped into thinking that there's anything good about alcohol. And that with food, there's a dopamine rush when we eat food. For most people, some people actually don't get it. I believe that because they don't care about food. And they're usually, well, sometimes they're thin and it's a burden to eat. I mean, there's a rare individual that you find, but basically human beings get a dopamine hit, small one, even from eating. And we can manipulate our food, and there's all the comfort food. And of course, big food industry, cheesies, just think about how you feel when you eat a cheesy. That's been engineered in there. So that's that. And then the alcohol dopamine is not as good as the dopamine that your body puts off naturally when you're sober. So because of that, I don't need a mental paradigm to just rely on the better drugs, which is my inner pharmacy is better than what alcohol delivers. You see where my belief system is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not ever a competition about like what's better. It's whatever
works for you.
Whatever works for you. Like look at some people that if their IQs are equal and one's very successful in business and the other one is dead broke, but they're both or almost broke, just over broke, and they're both intelligent. It has everything to just do when it comes to like that situation, business. It has everything to do with just their belief systems. You know, it has nothing to do with this objective truth going on in exchanging goods for money, which is business. It has to do with their belief system. So it's the same thing with sobriety.
Yeah.
To be sober, if you believe in AA, because you've got the community, you've got the reminders, you've got the accountability, which I needed. I stayed sober for the group for years. I was sober for 3 years twice. So with a slip in the middle, that's the longest. I mean, my problems with alcohol came later. I actually was mostly a food addict with binge drinking in between. But you know how that's why you didn't eat when you were at the worst of alcoholism, because it sobers you up.
Yeah. Messes up that buzz.
Yeah. So, well, if I'm overeating, how can it's almost impossible to practice alcoholism, even if you try, because you keep sobering up. If you're eating like plates and plates of pasta and cheese, and believe me, I was a lot heavier too. But that's what I'm trying to say. I know I have verbal diarrhea today. I'm just, as I said before we started, I said, I'm just so excited today with this energy that I have. I suppose you have good energy too. I mean, I'm not.
I hope
I'm not there. I wish we were in person. You know how you feel more from other people when you're in person with them? Like you almost feel their energy, and we feel a bit, I think, less on Zoom. But I appreciate your story, and keep doing, because I feel, even though I don't feel 100% your energy, I still feel a deep joy that is coming, and from your AA family. Like this is where you are getting a lot of your joy from, and your family and your husband's program. Tell me about his sobriety, because you live with him. So it's so close and important for your sobriety. Tell me about that. How's that going?
Well, like I said, his celebration of his 30 days lasted about 2 months.
Right.
And he missed a lot of work in that last year. So he had went through all of his PTO time at work, and he works from home. So most of the time, so he could drink whenever. So during that 2 months, he never really stopped drinking. He was going to sleep, drinking, waking up, drinking. So he was pretty much like where I was at. Plus he took his meds on top of it, where I didn't take my psych meds, like any kind of mental health medication, because I knew with the alcohol it wasn't good. He would still take his. And he was getting where he wouldn't remember what he said. Got a little, I could start seeing a little bit more violence. He never hit me or anything, but I've seen it coming out. The worse he got. But so 2 months in, and I kept going to AA and telling him about the meetings and encouraging him. And he's one of those that not going to AA, not going to believe in a higher power, not going to do that. He's agnostic. And still is, I guess. But finally at 2 months, I told him, I said, I think you need to go to rehab. You're probably going to get fired soon. And he's had his job for 30 years. That's how bad his performance at work had gotten. Uh, and so I told him I thought he needed to go to rehab or go to AA, do something. So the only thing he hated more than AA was the thought of going to um, a rehab center, any kind of place to sober up. So he was like, okay, I'm going to try AA. And then if that doesn't work, the next thing I'll do is rehab. And I said, fair enough. We can work with that. And again, he's one of those people that once he sets rules, he's going to follow it. So he started going with me to AA. He didn't care for it. He hated it. In fact, I think he still despises going, but he's made it. He just picked up his 1-year chip this month.
Yeah.
He's got a sponsor. He's working the steps.
It's very powerful to have a room of people that believe something that you can see is working. Like that is hard. You can't logically deny it. Like you cannot.
Right.
I told you, I've been to so many meetings, and it is wonderful to have people being honest. Like, wow, to be in a room of people that are just existing in their honesty is it's intoxicating. Like, that's why we want to go back. I miss that part of AA. I really don't see that in the real world, not to the level that I saw it in AA, OA, NA. Just people sitting there and attempting self-honesty is beautiful. It's beautiful. So
I love the sign they got up in all the AA rooms that say you are not alone.
There's all the slogans. The only one I always thought was insane, and I still don't like it, was think, think, think. It's like, what the hell is that?
I need to get out of my head.
You know, that one where they all are, one day at a time, of course, the main one. And then there's so many, and it's been years, but I remember that think, think, think one. And I went, but you know what? Then my brain right away, I thought, my brain would say, yeah, but it's that moment in the parking lot before you go into the the alcohol store, the liquor depot, to think. And then you get a pause, and then you might phone your sponsor. I think that's what it means.
That, and you think about, you go through the story in your head. If you're thinking, you're sitting at the liquor store. Okay, if I go in, I get this. I'm going to go home. I'm going to drink it.
Right. That's another thing.
Probably going to happen. My kids are going to see me. Yeah. They're going to get into a fight. Like, you play the whole scene out in your head, and then it's like, okay, that's not a good idea.
Right. I think you're right, and I think it's magical that there's 3 of them, because the 3 steps that you do daily, basically, you do them in the 12. The first 3, it's a daily. You admitted, you believed, and then you turn it over. You admit, you believe, turn it over. You just keep doing those. So I think that's why there's 3 think, think, think as well. So
that makes sense.
There is so many different ways that the number 3 it's the way our digestive system work. Our circadian rhythm works in 3s. There's 12 steps, which is 4 sets of 3, and then the 3 daily. There's so many different ways that number is significant.
Is it interesting you say that, because I'm on thinking about what the hardest times was. The first 3 weeks was so hard. The first days was like hell.
It is in 3s, isn't it? I think that's 3
weeks, and then 3 months was like a turning point. And started happening. That's when you started seeing the difference. At least for me, anyway.
No, you will know a new strength and a new happiness. Those promises all have come true for me. I am still a card-carrying member of AA, if you know what I mean, because I still harbor a desire. I have a deep desire to be sober, to stop drinking. And another epiphany I got a few weeks ago, they're coming like crazy now. Before I tell you that one, let me just put a pin in it and go back and ask you if you've ever heard this. For every year you drank, you need a month of sobriety to clear your brain.
No, I never heard that.
So apparently, and I'm not sure, I know where I got the fact, but I'm not sure where the fact was derived from. But being part of Tribe Sober, this big online community, there was a monthly fee to be part of Tribe Sober about the price of a bottle of wine a month. And then I would be on the Zoom meetings and I would get coaching, and it was wonderful. So that's my first year of sobriety. So I heard that fact from Janet Guron, episode 5 of Sober and Free. I recommend everybody go and listen to that one. She started Tribe Sober. She just hit her 10 years, and she was an executive coach who drank too much, and then she got sober and started Tribe Sober. But she said that about for every year you drank, you need a month. I'm about to approach August 15th. I'll reach 36 months sober, and I drank for 36 years. So that's awesome. I can remember my epiphany that I was going to tell you, because I'm sober and I've got this fantastic brain now, that I can say that the other day, I realized that a lot of people, we go to AA and we have the membership requirement, which is a desire to stop drinking. We have that. But unfortunately, you know what comes along with it is maybe a secret, or maybe out in the open, like your husband, but we also carry the desire to keep drinking. That also is with it. So what we're trying to do in AA, or even outside of AA, is shed the desire to drink and just have the desire to stay sober. Like, we only want that to be our lighthouse, our strength, our reason we link arms. So our community, lifeline is all of us sharing this desire to stay sober. It's strong in us, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's everything.
It's gotten stronger too as time goes on, and you keep doing it. That it gets stronger. The want to be sober, the desire to be sober, and experiencing life, and realizing that you wasn't experiencing life. I wasn't experiencing life when I was drinking. No, I was actually just numbing everything around me.
Yeah, and then you don't
totally
even
different now.
They're different in the experience, and then you're able to have this sustainable experience by carrying the experiences with us to the next moment, because we actually remember them.
Yes.
So we have
so much I don't remember.
Me too. In fact, I've had interviews with people on the podcast where they're telling me, like number 3, episode 3, the conversation with Lynn Adams. She has an incredible memory because she took me through her life, but it was very eventful. And I was thinking, man, my story is not that interesting because, and I've recorded it and not edited it. I haven't put it up yet. I will. It's hard to edit your own story.
Yeah.
What do you leave in and what do you take out? Because you don't necessarily like the way you sound, or maybe when you say something, it's like goofy, and you're like, when I edit these podcasts, I try not to even listen to what I say, because I think it's just sometimes a little bit goofy when I'm expressing myself, but it doesn't come out perfect, but I leave it. But anyway, so with Lynn, and who else? I think maybe it's even in the quitlets that I read when I read all these books. And I do recommend, my favorite is We Are the Luckiest. That's my favorite quitlet. Laura McCowan. It's riveting. Like, I stayed up all night listening to that one. I didn't read it. I listened to it on Audible. We are the luckiest. We are the luckiest to have had this problem. But they take me through week by week, and I swear hour by hour. And I'm like, how are they remembering all this if they were drunk?
Right.
But maybe they embellish, and I'm happy about the embellishment, because I love reading about people that help me get rid of my shame. If I have still any shame in there of just being who I am. That's unfortunate, because it's going to color my belief in myself, and it's going to change my impact that I might have on my very life. So I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you today, DeAnna, is because you understand, even if I haven't told you the events of my drinking in my life, you'll understand that. Like, look at our first drunk, right? When we talked about it at the very beginning, it was right away fraught with shame, with, us throwing up and shitting ourselves. So then your husband, he has a year of sobriety, and let's go to your kids now. So, I know that you have a, awful anniversary, if you don't mind, just sharing it as quickly as you like, but you do have an anniversary that just passed, about that wonderful soul who really, he was your bridge to start on this journey, wasn't he? Your son.
Yes, he was the one that, even when everybody else, and I won't say that everybody gave up on me.
No,
but it felt like it to me that everybody had given up on me.
Well, but they had to limit their exposure. They had to limit their exposure.
Yeah, because I was dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. But
for their own drinking too, if you don't mind that I add, I think your son that didn't drink, he was also thinking the most clearly, and perhaps he was the strong one because of that, because that's how detrimental alcohol is it makes us feel weak. So your kids, even though their alcohol had progressed to where yours was, perhaps they didn't feel strong enough to go there with you, because you would fight them. You would, every alcoholic, if you don't mind my calling you that, but every alcoholic's going to fight. And your son was enormously strong to be able to say, you know what, Mom? And then now I got this breathalyzer.
Yep.
What a sweetheart.
But yes, so he was really big. And like I said, he was there for my first 30-day ship, and he was supposed to be there for my year medallion. He said that he would give me my year medallion, because I told him from the beginning, okay, if I make it to 1 year, because he was very, very shy. He liked to be secluded. So it was a big thing for him to get out and go to an AA meeting.
Right.
But he did go to the 1 month, and several of my other kids, I think all of them that were in town went. So I had 5 there. So that was amazing. That was a wonderful experience to show them, okay, I made it 30 days. I still don't think they really took me serious though at that point. I don't think it was until about the 3 months mark that they started going, oh wow, she really is. She's staying quit. So it's been nice. And that's another reason I don't want to drink is my kids. I think a lot of people's rock bottom is DUIs and jail and rehabs and things like that. And mine was just, I hadn't got there yet. For me, the disappointment on my kids' faces and the shame and embarrassment that I was walking around with, and the constant looking in the rearview mirror, what if, when am I going to get pulled over? And I did get pulled over a couple of times and should have gotten a DUI. But fortunately, someone was looking out for me or something. I don't know. Maybe I charmed them. I don't know. But somehow I ended up not getting one.
It's good for your future always not to get one, even though it's good. Some drunks need to be stopped. So it's good that they get one. But now that you're sober, it's good that you didn't get one, because it does affect every area of our lives, travel, employment, everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Go on.
Geez, well, actually, it hasn't been an anniversary yet, because it was only 5 months ago.
That's right. It was the day of the month, right?
Yeah, it was, 5 days before I picked up my 9-month chip. I was supposed to pick it up, my 9-month chip on Christmas Day. And my son had been going through a depression with his own stuff that he was dealing with, but it wasn't unnatural or normal for him to stay in his room and just avoid people. That was just who he was. He didn't even like family get-togethers or anything like that. Even during the drinking, he would stay in his room while everybody else was acting a fool. But I found him in his room the night of December 20th, unresponsive, and he had taken his own life. And that I can't even describe. No. That was just shattering. And I'm not going to say anybody's name, but somebody in the family that night, after the police and the coroner and everybody came out, it took them several hours to do whatever they had to do on the scene. They wouldn't let me in there. I stayed there with him, holding him and hugging him and screaming until they came and pulled me off of him. And then they wouldn't let me back in. But after they got his body out, a family member said, would you like me to go get you a bottle of vodka? Nobody would blame you for drinking right now. And I just thought about it for just a brief minute and was like, no, I don't want anything to drink. That's not going to make this any better. If anything, it'd probably just give me the courage to take my own life. So I was like, no. And I said, I know that he left me a note. I know he did. He had to have left me a note. He wouldn't just leave me like this. And I looked all night for that note. And I found it finally. I picked his phone up. And I should have known that because he's very tech savvy. He built his own computer and taught himself how to code. But he knew I wasn't. But he put it on his phone, and as soon as you look at his phone, it's got a lock screen on it. And it says right there on the lock screen how to unlock his phone.
Wow.
And it told me to go to his notes on his notepad. So I clicked over on that and read that to the family. And most of it was how to get into his accounts and what to do and who to notify. And then at the end, there was a little paragraph that said that he had a great childhood and he loved me and Scott and his siblings, and that he was so proud of me and Scott for going to AA. And the way he put it was going against your own brain to get sober. And that just made me feel so good at that moment that I did not accept the offer for the bottle of vodka.
Yes.
Because how terrible would I have felt reading that letter when I found it?
Oh, yes.
If I had drank it. Oh, I can't even imagine. Devastating again. But I made it through it. It's still like an ongoing. It's going to be lifelong. But I made it through the very hard part. And the people from AA were there. They were the ones, even though they only knew me 9 months, they were the ones that were they filled up the funeral place. Obviously all the siblings and family came together, but that was it as far as anybody that knew me. It was all AA members that was there, and they were there for me during the hard times. They brought food, they came to the house and checked on me. I mean, it was just always, they were so wonderful. And my family was wonderful. They helped me get through it. And like I said, obviously we're all still getting through it. We're still in therapy and group counseling and all that stuff. But like I said, it's been 5 months now. And I got heavily into, I didn't want to watch TV anymore. I got real heavy into, not psychology, philosophy. So got more into meditation. I know you hear that all the time, like prayer, meditation in AA, but I never really understood meditation. To me, I was like, that's the same as prayer. Like, how's it any different? Well, that clarification came when I started reading philosophy, Eckhart Tolle and Marcus Aurelius, and those books that was telling me how to meditate. And I started practicing that, and it really is. I mean, it was very powerful. It helped me get out of my brain and get out of the thinking in a good way instead of escaping with alcohol. Like you were saying, your own body has what you need. I could do it myself, get out of my own head, get out of the thinking, because the guilt and stuff is just tremendous with the suicide death. And so that's been a big help. And just getting closer to everybody in the group, getting closer to my family.
You really traveled down.
Joy.
You really traveled down to your heart. It's like unfortunately, it's not that it took that, but it's here. So therefore, it took that to really get out of your head and into your heart in some ways. I mean, that's how it reads. And you'd really love The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. Do you know it?
I read it.
Isn't it?
Yep.
That's exactly what you're into right now is the way Singer really just practiced that autonomy of doing what your soul wants to do in this life and getting rid of living that soul life. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or agnostic. It doesn't in that way that your soul has a journey, and we need to honor what that soul's journey is. And the stories or whatever that might mean that it can relate to. For some reason, the Christian story is that's what I relate to. But even though the Christian evangelistical approach, which is a gift in and of itself, states that, well, no, everyone needs to be saved, I really have trouble with that dogma, because part of the soul journey is that we're individuals, and we have freedom. And that's another key point. And even though it sounds like a kind of boring name, sober and free, but that was such a key piece of this sobriety this time around for me, is that I need to be free to practice however I wish to, especially in our 50s, right? Because now we're like, we do what we want. Like we do whatever we want, and it just happens to be good. We're using our power for good.
And it makes you feel so much better. It's
designed that way. Yeah, for sure. Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, it's one of those coincidence, I guess, or whatever you call them, synchronicities or something, that your podcast is sober and free. And that very first sponsor that I called, the temporary sponsor, that's what she would always say when I would talk to her. And she still does. She'll text me that. We're free. We're free. We're free. I was like, what's this crazy lady talking about? We're free. Yeah. Now I get it. I get it. I got my freedom back. I didn't understand that for a while.
It's funny, because we felt, wait a minute, I want to be free to drink. What are you talking about? I don't have no freedom, but it's about that belief. It's about that belief system that is the foundation. And now freedom represents not having to drink.
Right. Yeah.
It's fun. It's opposite from what we had thought. And your son was so wise saying that you got beyond your brain, because at the point the brain was sick, the brain told you that there was good things about drinking. It was wrong, unfortunately. No offense, but your brain was wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And society.
That's why I had to find something else to believe in, even if it was just I had to find a higher power.
And it's not your fault. Society tells us, with all the commercials and and the reason it's propaganda, which is, feeding information to a sleeping brain. The reason it's propaganda is because we're so young and it's on TV, and our parents drank and they got the messaging from, big alcohol. It is government funded. I mean, the suffragists tried during Prohibition to get rid of it, and it came back. In fact, it ended up fueling that black market, which, many people died during Prohibition because of was it called the black market, when people would sell alcohol anyway? I don't think I have the name right, but so it's been this battle for this industry for years. Bootleggers,
bootleggers over here.
And you still have older people buying for the young, and they have to pay them bootleggers. But my point is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fight big alcohol with powerful stories like yours. But, it's like the Starship story, where there's a boy on the beach and thousands of starfish, thousands of starfishes have washed up on the beach, and they're dying because they need to be wet to live. And so, the boy, he starts grabbing as many as he can, and he's throwing them back in the ocean, but there's thousands of them. And so a man comes along and sees this boy doing this and say, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're never going to be able to save all of them. And then he throws another one into the ocean and says, well, it matters to that one, and it matters to that one. And that's how I feel with this podcast. I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think I'm going to shut alcohol down, or at least the messaging, because you can drink if you want. Anybody can. That's the freedom.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to shut them down, but it matters to this one, someone perhaps who's listening, who says, maybe I'm going to try the truth, however they decide to do it. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to get a friend who's sober. I'm going to go to a meeting. Oh, I love your puppy. Sorry, guys. We're video as well. And her lovely puppy just came to visit her, and I have a dog as well. What's the puppy's name?
Yeah. Athena.
Athena. That's a beautiful name. Beautiful dog. What is a lab?
No, I got a brown lab Teddy running around. That she is a mountain shepherd. She's only 4 months old.
Oh, lots of energy.
Yeah, but I do have a 2-year-old lab that was my son's that I now have.
Yeah. Oh, the brown labs are beautiful, just beautiful. And well, your life is a testament to what's your son's name?
Jerry.
Jerry, your life's a testament to Jerry, DeAnna. He would be proud. And you don't need me to tell you that. I'm just stating what that I'm feeling this so strongly. He gave you the gift in that paragraph and with his life that now you have the key to lifelong sobriety. And I hope this doesn't come across as morbid, but it's almost like he gave his life for you.
Oh, wow. I've never thought about it like that.
And you have it now because of what you said when you said, I didn't drink. There was a thread in there where you already knew, I'm going to find a note. I'm not going to drink. I can't connect these two things together. You found the note. You knew that you were so glad. And it just brings such tears to my eyes. But what his life was like. But I believe he's here. And I think that he's filled with joy for you.
Thank you.
And how you're going to help people in your story. Never be afraid to share your story. It's not too much. People can take it because that's, I'm sure, how we feel sometimes when something like this happens. It's too much. And I don't want to burden others, but they're going through, and this will help lighten their burden. Because you didn't know what was lying underneath the surface, and they don't either for their loved ones or themselves. And if anyone out there is still drinking and they're feeling so lost because they tried sobriety and they just couldn't do it, maybe perhaps the 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, all of that. What are your top tips to get sober today and stay sober?
Surrender is first. Surrender to whatever you have to get sober. To find what, for me, it was admitting that I was powerless over alcohol and that the alcohol was controlling my life. So I had to surrender and let something else control my life. I obviously couldn't control it because I was making a mess of it. So I think surrender and admitting it is definitely the first one. And then accepting what life is, accepting that it is the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. There's going to be, just because you get sober doesn't mean that there's, your life is just going to be all great. We're still going to have to deal with life struggles. And if we can't accept that, then we'll be right back out there drinking again.
Yeah.
And then stay consistent with it. Don't give up. If you end up taking a drink, don't let it get back to controlling your life. Just get back in there and, just don't give up. Be persistent. I would say that's the 3 top ones.
We still love them. We still love you when you're drinking again and you were trying to go sober and you have a relapse. Who cares? You're sober the moment you decide to start being a non-drinker again, which is what I also had to consider myself from day one. I'm a non-drinker. That's just my new identity.
Oh,
from day one.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say something.
Your kayaking is a huge piece, I think. I think that people need to.
I still kayak. My son used to kayak with me too. He loves camping, kayaking, fishing. gaming was his main
Well,
thing. So
he's a quiet soul, and he got a lot of his adventures out in his gaming, because we still love the adventure of, his visual, um, how can I say, enjoyment from the gaming, from, probably going in and out of adventure. That was all in the
hmm
gaming, but he sounds like a quiet soul who is very wise, and
I asked him because he had given hints that he was going to do it, said he was going to do it a year prior. But, many people say it. I've said it and then doesn't go through with it. But I was like, you can't do that. I said, what would you even do? How would I make it without you? And he said, Mom, you'll be okay. He's like, I'll stay with y'all for a little while, and then I'll go wherever I have to go, and I'll find this big video game system, and that's what I'm going to do.
right. Yeah. Who knows? We don't know in the beyond what he's doing, what his soul is doing, but um, as long as he knows that you're working towards, or maybe you've already arrived at not being angry with him, because I'm
Yeah.
sure it takes work, because there's that in the beginning. We're angry, and we can let that go. It almost reminds me of the forgiveness when someone has done an evil act, which he didn't, but I'm just saying that it takes an enormous amount of forgiveness when someone does something that so changes your life that it's hard to get to that place of total forgiveness. Or it comes and goes,
Yeah.
maybe. I have never felt this kind of grief that you feel, but I can only imagine that it's like waves.
It is. Yeah.
And grief, maybe even some anger. And I just know that by being sober and your body's own ability, brain, soul, and physical, to take care of you, the intelligence that's within you, the one that beats your heart, that it's hard, but I think you're going to be, I don't want to say you're going to be fine. That's so trite, but I think that you have everything that it takes to be okay around you,
Yeah.
So
it's very important having a supportive family, and of course, all my friends have made AA, and
yeah. Oh, it's so good you're in AA. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking was with AA, they loved me when I couldn't even love myself, and they continue to do that. And I think that that's really important for people, because we get so down on ourselves, especially when we're hitting our rock bottom and we're in that addiction, that we don't even like ourselves. We despise ourselves. We're ashamed. We're guilt ridden. And so the alcohol is what keeps us numb to all those feelings. And like I said, we don't even love ourselves, and to see all these other people that you don't even know, you don't know them in the beginning, reaching out and showing genuine concern and care and love, is it's just amazing.
It's life-changing,
no,
and life-giving.
It really is.
And life-giving. Yeah. No, God bless your AA group. And so in closing, is there anything else you'd like to add for our listener, to carry on?
I can't think of anything. I did want to add that it's just funny, I think, that you mentioned the starfish story. And for years, when my kids were growing up, I had a big outdoor swimming pool. That was a big fun adventure they have in the summertime. Is I'd clean it up. It was one of those out above ground pools, and we'd let it turn green and fill up with water, and the little tadpoles would come, and the whole pool would be full of tadpoles until the next time when we opened it up. And when I'd open it up, I'd be like, oh no, there's all these tadpoles in there. I can't kill them. And so I was trying to figure out a way to save them before I cleaned the pool out. And I took the drain out and hooked a hose to it and was putting them all in a cooler, and then I'd close it off and go dump them out in the water. And I kept doing that, and it was overflowing, and some were falling on the ground, and all my kids are like looking at me, and people that see me do it, they're like, the neighbors, it was like, what are you doing? And I said, there's tadpoles. I can't let them all die. They're just little babies.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but you're not saving them all. So what's the point? But yeah,
right.
That reminded me of that.
The ones you did save, it did matter. I feel the same way about life. And I think that one of the reasons you're living today, because alcohol could have killed us, is because deep down, we chose life a long time ago when we would save any little thing that's living. I'm the same with bugs, spiders, animals.
Me too.
I won't even let my house bugs, the little ones, I don't know what they're called, the little beetles that sometimes you find in your kitchen and stuff. If they're alive, I'll put them outside. I know people.
I do too.
I think, but who am I to decide that this life needs to be extinguished because it's inconvenient for me? Yeah. And their life, even if they live a day, okay, fruit flies, I kind of draw the line. I do kill fruit flies, but I do. And I kill mosquitoes. Sorry. But
I mean, still, if they're biting me, I will.
Yeah. If they're really, really buzzing all around me and they're bothering me and I need to get rid of you and I swish you away, but you don't stay away, I may kill you. But I still don't believe in it. I think that life is that force that it's not my right to decide what lives or dies.
Right.
And we're programmed to keep living. So, well, I'm glad you're living and thriving, DeAnna, because it's been lovely getting to know you, and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be thinking about you and your 1-year-old grandson. It's my favorite age. What a cute.
That's where I'm headed to right after this.
I'm so happy. Well, I look forward to seeing some pictures online, and and we'll talk to you really soon. Let's stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Big hug. Bye-bye. Bye. If you or anyone you know is struggling with alcohol dependency, alcohol use disorder, alcoholism, or any drug dependency at all, please reach out to your local professional and know that the opinions expressed here on this podcast are those of the person that expressed them and by no means applies to everyone. I wish you a happy and sober day, and for around-the-clock support, and feel free to join us at the Sober and Free Facebook group. I look forward to seeing you in the group.
Oh, could it happen to someone like me? All the stories, all the books say it happens, you don't have to look. So I'm waiting for the day when love comes my way. In my dreams, in my sleep, I have him and he has me. We could walk down the street, holding hands, oh so sweet. When love comes my way, we'll be the leaves to the trees. We won't budge for the breeze, like the tides from the sea always come faithfully.